Hey everyone, my name is Stefan Palios, and welcome to my talk today about building an inbound freelancer funnel. Now, as you've probably seen with other Freelancer Business Month talks, this talk itself is recorded. However, I am live watching this talk as it goes and paying attention to comments and questions that you put into the chat. So as we go through, you're hearing my recorded voice, but I am sitting here live, and we will have a live Q&A session after the talk. So without further ado, a little bit of an introduction to myself. My name is Stefan. As I said, I'm a freelance writer for venture capitalists and startups. I'm passionate about remote work. I've been running my own business remotely since 2017 when I founded it, and I publish Remotely Inclined, which is a regular newsletter about remote work. I'm also the author of the 50 Laws of Freelancing, a book all about starting and growing your freelance business. And for today's topic, the little interesting tidbit that I'll share about myself is since I've started my business, nearly 100% of my business is inbound. I have rarely sent a cold pitch. I haven't sent one in quite some time. And I even get people that I've never met before emailing me, asking if they can work with me. It's pretty fun. And today's topic is, of course, all about how to get that done. So jumping in is, I fundamentally believe that us freelancers have better things to do than cold pitch. You could be working on paid work if you're just getting started. If you have the clients you need and you want a few more, spend some time focusing on your clients instead of cold pitching. Or, frankly, just you don't want to have to pitch or spend more time on the business necessarily. You just want more free time because you like the level of business that you're at. So all in all, wherever you are as a freelancer, I think we can all agree we have better things to do than cold pitch. So what I'm here to talk about today is my inbound system, the story in 4 parts that I use to generate all my inbound business, to get to the level where people I've never met are emailing me asking if I'm still taking on clients because they want to work with me. Now, I do have that little asterisk that I have to have. Results may vary. My goal with this presentation is to share with you exactly what I'm actually doing, sharing examples of the steps I'm taking so that you can emulate them and use them in your own business. But of course, different types of freelancers, different personality types, we're all different. I don't want to stand here and guarantee that this system is going to work for you because I don't think that's fair to you. So I'm going to share with you what my system is, and I certainly hope that you can take away a few things and apply it to your business and build your own inbound system. When I started freelancing, I used to talk to anyone who would talk to me in a very general way. And that's what actually leads into number 1, the first lesson I learned of my inbound system, which is you need a good enough one-liner. So when I used to introduce myself, they would say, okay, hey, what do you do? And I would give this long-winded answer. Oh, I'm a freelance writer, but I'm also an editor. I work with small companies. I work with startups. I work with government. I work with and like on and on and on and on. And being very accurate, I would describe everything that I actually do because I'm not just a writer. I am an editor and strategist and other things. But that person would pretty much just tune me out. And they'd say, oh yeah, that's nice, and move on. Or if it was a potential sales prospect, they'd be so overwhelmed that they wouldn't even know how to work with me and say, oh, you're too advanced for me. I just need this little thing. And then you end up chasing it, and it's a whole nightmare. Those types of deals rarely, if ever, work out. What I learned was that your one-liner, that simple statement of when someone asks you, what do you do? How do you answer them? Is not just about being easily understood, but also making sure that that information is easy for someone else to repeat. So when I introduced myself to you guys today, I said I'm a freelance writer for startups and venture capitalists. That not only is pretty easy to understand, you grasp what I do, those words are fairly simple. You might need a clarifying question or two about what it means to be a startup writer, but you pretty much know what I do. But more specifically, it's easy to repeat. you might go after this presentation and say, oh yeah, I heard Stefan, he gave a talk on inbound freelancing. He's a freelance writer for startups, or he's a venture capitalist blogger, or something to that effect. You'll get the gist of it pretty much without thinking. You don't have to consciously think about who I am in order to know, okay, yeah, freelance writer. And what that does is it starts to leverage other people's networks on your behalf from an awareness perspective. So I've had a few instances where someone has reached out to me and said, I heard from someone else that you are a freelance writer for startups. Is that true? I need some content help. And that sets you up so nicely when you think about your second order conversation, meaning someone understanding you, but then repeating it to someone else. So that's why part one, it's critical, is to just have a good enough one-liner. If you focus too much on accuracy, you lose the ultimate goal. And when it is just good enough, someone who needs different services is likely to ask you. If someone knows they need editing, for instance, and I say, I'm a freelance writer, they could turn right around and say, oh, but do you edit? That's what I actually need. And then you're into a really productive sales conversation. Part two, try everything and stick with what you like. When I wrote this chapter for my book, The 50 Laws of Freelancing, I initially just kept it as try everything. And that was because early on in my freelance business, I thought that I needed to do this ultra strategic, scalable demand generation thing where if I didn't use the exact right channel at the exact right time, I was going to lose. And it was because I was reading all these articles that were intended for technology startups and intended for their type of marketing testing. What I found with freelancing in regards to building an inbound funnel is, yes, you're a business, but you're also a human. So you want to be open to trying everything because you never know where a client's going to come from. But then you want to stick with what you like because you're either going to find a client, enjoy yourself, or both. So in my case, I've tried a whole bunch of different stuff. I was on tons of different social networks, from Reddit to Twitter to LinkedIn to Indie Hackers. And if you are a freelancer not familiar with indiehackers.com, you should check it out. It's a cool community. For content, I write remotely inclined, as I said. I also publish a blog called pulseblueprint.com, which is just content about freelancing in the workplace. For community, I've tried Slack channels and Telegram or WhatsApp groups, and conferences and meetups. And they're lots of fun and you meet new people. And I've even done cultural exchanges. If you're not familiar with Workaway, the logo on the screen, it's a cultural exchange platform where you can go almost anywhere in the world. And I went on a trip to France and I helped a family restore their chateau that they bought. And it was interesting because even that created a lead opportunity. It didn't end up in a client, but that's okay. But the interesting part about all of these, I tried everything, I stuck with what I liked. And then what ended up happening was the things that I enjoyed doing, I did more of. So I was more present and I introduced myself with my one-liner, which means people knew who I was. They could repeat it to other people in the community. And then the people in those communities would say, oh, Stefan, yeah, I saw him on that subreddit. Or I have read a piece of his content that he's published. Or, oh, we met at this conference. And you get to tell stories about all those things. So I've been on conversations with someone where I've talked about my trip to a friend's chateau, and they say, oh my God, that is a dream of mine. And suddenly we have this amazing common ground. And I actually, specifically the friend's chateau story, I shared about that experience on LinkedIn. And I actually had a couple people reaching out to me saying, wow, I read that post. This is a dream of mine too. That's so cool. Let's chat. And once you start building that common ground, especially with things that you truly enjoy and are truly passionate about, building that inbound awareness is going to be a lot easier for you. Because so much of inbound is just making sure that every possible client knows who you are. And one of the best ways to do it, in my opinion, is being open to trying everything, but sticking with what you like so that your passion and interests and experiences come through. The third one, if you want referrals, you have to make the other person the hero. So when I first started my business, I asked for referrals the same way most people do. And if you aren't asking for referrals right now, you definitely should. Absolutely, you're missing out on critical revenue lines. But the big part for me was that I would ask pretty much as a favor. I would say, hey, I'm a freelance writer. Do you know anyone that you can refer to me to give me more business? And that's a very normal way to ask for referrals. But the problem is that you are asking for a favor. You're asking for someone to scan their network, think about where they can spend their social capital on your behalf, and think about who is going to be a good potential customer for you, and then make the introduction and convince that person that you're worth working with. That's a lot to ask of someone. Even if you do an affiliate, and even if you're offering to pay them and say, I'll give you a percentage of the take or something like that, you're still going to ask them for a favor. They're getting compensated for that work a little bit, but it's still going to be a question of, do I want to spend that social capital on this person right now? What I learned and what I switched to was, instead of asking for someone to give me a referral, I started saying, hey, I'm a freelance writer for startups and venture capitalists. Again, your one-liner, critical. If you know someone, if you know a startup founder or a VC investor or a startup head of marketing that needs content help, I'd be happy to help. At that time, and I still do, I take an intro call with folks. If you're interested in working with me, I will happily take a call with you. And that was my offer. I said, look, if they want to talk content, I'll take a call with them. It's no problem. And if you have some sort of free offering, maybe you have an ebook, or maybe you have a free online course, or you do free calls, that's amazing. Even if you don't have one, though, even if you say, look, I do paid work and that's all I do, I don't have a free offering, but I can help out if they're interested, if they have this problem, that's really helpful. Because what ends up happening is, instead of that person thinking, do I want to spend social capital on you right now? They instead look outward and say, oh, that person just said they have a problem. I think I have a solution. I know this guy, Stefan. If you have a content problem, Stefan can potentially solve it. Why don't I make an introduction and see? And obviously, you have to be able to deliver so that person feels that their offer of a solution, being you, was actually good. But it changes the dynamic from spending social capital to making that person the hero. They just solved someone else's problem by referring them to you. And if you can become known as the solution to problems, to a specific problem, amazing things can happen. You can even become a situation where you're putting this out into the world. So instead of saying, please send me referrals, clients and friends, you can put it out into the world and say, here's the type of problem that I solve. I'm happy to help if I can. And what can end up happening is people can actually tag you and send you referrals that don't even know you. I had an instance a couple times where people that I've never connected with before put out a tweet of, hey, I'm looking for people who understand remote work. One of my followers tagged me and said, Stefan understands remote work, maybe you should chat. Now, the interesting part is, this follower, I've also never met in person. We've just interacted online. They don't live in Toronto where I live right now. And so we've never met. But they gave me a referral because they knew that I am a freelance writer for startups. So when someone from a startup tweeted, I need content help, they thought, Stefan. And that landed me a pretty big client that I'm working with to this day, and they're wonderful. So don't be afraid to focus on making other people the hero, and make it so that someone sending you a referral is them solving someone else's problem, not them doing you a favor. And the final part is scaling with partnerships. So this one's a pretty big one, because freelancers are fundamentally businesses. You are a human and it's just you, but you're a business. You're selling your services or your products to your clients, who are often other businesses. And so when you think about accessing a lot of those clients and developing an inbound funnel where those clients come to you, you've got to work on the partnership model. And what I mean by that is, you take that one-liner, you know what value you're offering, you think about the community experiences you have, and you find a way to make the other person the hero, so that them giving you access to their network, meaning ideal clients for you, is valuable. So I'll give you an example. I mentioned that I write for venture capitalists. And when I started working with a venture capital company, it was just with them. I was helping them revamp their website and do things like that. And then what I ended up negotiating with them was a few content offerings that were slightly discounted, easy access, simple step 1, 2, 3, that they could go offer to all of their portfolio companies. And that was a great partnership, and still is a great partnership as I'm recording this for all of you, because venture capitalists put money into companies, it's their job, and want those companies to succeed. Startups, on the other hand, have limited resources, don't have time to vet everybody, and they don't have time to even go searching in many cases. So this partnership was fantastic. The venture capitalist got to be the hero. They got to go to their portfolio company and say, hey, look, I have found a good writer. I've vetted that he knows what he's doing. I've negotiated for you. You're getting a fantastic below market rate. And all you have to do is step 1, 2, 3. Simple. That creates a triple win. I get an inbound funnel. I have clients emailing me just saying, hey, I want to work with you. Hey, can I pay you? It's a really fun feeling. I am making a little bit less than if I went and sourced to those clients by myself, but at the same time, I am being paid fairly. And I didn't have to do any marketing or sales to get them. They walked right to my door and asked to work with me. So I could charge a little less because I have just freed up a ton of my time to go chase other clients. The venture capitalist, on the other hand, gets to go be a hero to their portfolio companies and say, I pre-negotiated. I'm here to help you. I'm going to make you successful. And then the startups who don't have time and have limited resources get an easy path. They just have to walk down it and get it done. They don't have to worry about anything else. So when you can create partnerships that way, that are B2B to B, business to business to business, or B2B to C, business to consumer, if you sell retail products, for instance, as a freelancer, you have a huge opportunity to scale and get people coming to you. You're going to have to give something. You have to provide value. In this case, I provided discounts on my usual rates, and I provided a very specific menu of items so that the venture capitalists' portfolio companies knew exactly what they were getting. You have to work at those things, but that is probably one of the best ways to get a lot of clients coming right to you that you don't have to actually work to attain. You just have to do good jobs for. So that is indeed the story in 4 parts. Thank you all for listening. If you're kicking around, like I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, I am sitting here live, and as soon as this recording's over, we're jumping to live Q&A. So thank you all for listening. Please ask all of your questions if you haven't already, and let's have an awesome conversation. I think we're probably going to end up going live right about now-ish, maybe 1 to 2 seconds from now.